Good evening, this is Ali Tarnishi at Connect with Ali show. Our show focuses on cultural education and raising awareness to inspire a positive change through conversation. And today we have my friend Dr. Shami and Mayor Yvonne Lapierre, and we get to dice together and get to understand what dice mean from both a Canadian and immigrant perspective. Please help me welcome Dr. Shami and the Mayor Yvonne Lapierre. Tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome, first of all, on the show.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for having me. I was born in Sierra Leone, Africa. Moved back to my home country, Lebanon, at the age of 11. I studied there. I was a high school chemistry teacher. Then I moved back to Paris, where I studied French and continued my studies. And then moved back in Moncton 2008. And I'm still here since 2008.
Amazing. So it's just like Africa, Asia, Middle East, Canada. It's amazing. Diversity speaking.
Yeah.
And the Mayor Yvonne Lapierre, welcome and nice to have you. And tell us a little bit about yourself. And
well, I was born in Montreal and lived most of my youth there, and moved to New Brunswick for work, and been here since 1972, 71, 72. So time goes by fast.
Very fast, yeah.
Time goes by very fast. So, you know, obviously I'm more of a consider myself more of an Acadian than a Quebecer now, because I've spent more time here now than being raised in Montreal and Quebec. Yeah.
Amazing. So probably, Mr. Mayor, like since 1972, you see a big difference, like in diversity and probably different ethnic and different people from different culture. Huh?
Well, it was a shock to me actually when I first came here, because there was no diversity, zero diversity, where, you know, living in Montreal, of course, I was used to. In fact, I had a couple of friends that were black, and we played sports together and hung around together and chum around together and whatnot. So when I, you know, and you know, Italians had just moved into our neighborhood. So again, you know, there's different language, different customs, and so on. But then when I came here, it was
totally different.
Totally different again. But now, of course, we have to say that I would say over the past 15 years or so, we're seeing more and more people from different ethnicity and from different backgrounds and different countries. So it's great for the community, and we all know that economically we need more immigrants, and we need to make sure we keep that balance though between French and English. I think that's very important at this point. That we maintain the same balance between the two communities.
100%. The balance is the key for diversity, for inclusion, for everything. Because without balance, we will be out of out of balance. And we'll just go to the first question. What is the definition of diversity? I know diversity in a lot of things, but I like to hear it from both perspectives.
Honestly, there's been so many definitions that intertwine between diversity, inclusion, and equity. But normally, if you look about diversity, it's just a quantitative number. It doesn't mean more than I have this group of this ethnicity, this age, women, cultures, LGBTQ. So we are just talking about numbers of diverse people from different backgrounds that are in a special setting. And that's why you could see why inclusion jumped in after. So diversity alone is not enough.
Okay, diversity alone is not enough.
Yeah.
Good answer, my friend Yvonne Lapierre.
Well said. It's you know, it's hard to not to repeat the same things, because obviously it's people that come and join us here. You know, to me that's the opening that we see from people from the outside. People from all kinds of different countries with different abilities and different experiences that are coming here to join us in this area, whether it's Dieppe, Moncton, Riverview, or the whole province. In fact, we see a lot of success also in areas like Bathurst, specifically. Certainly, the community college attract a lot of diversity, and the University of Moncton, of course, some major programs there, and a good population of students that make a choice. We hope they make the choice to stay here and work here and grow here and grow our community and have families and keep this rolling.
100%. We want people to stay here instead of just use it as like a gate through, and
retention,
exactly,
is the key,
retention is the key, but that's take a lot of work, and everyone's doing a lot of job to keep people staying here, but that will just bring us to the next question, because as Jami mentioned, that's inclusion is the key, because diversity is being invited to a team, and inclusion is being invited to play in the team. What do you think of that statement?
But it's amazing because it's the same as when you say diversity is being invited to a party and inclusion is
invited to dance.
Yeah, I can explain it in another way. So, in your house, suppose you want to bake a cake. You have ingredients. So you will have flour, sugar. Those are the diversity. Those are the different diverse population that you have. But if you don't use the good measurements, how many cups of sugar, how many spoons of this and that, you won't bake a good cake. So the end result that you want should follow all those things. So that is it. It's the same idea as a team, as a party. So if you don't involve them, engage them, bring them to the bigger picture of the community, then we didn't achieve those diverse numbers. They will stay as numbers.
I love that. I love that. It's really like, as Mr. Mayor said earlier, balance as well, because those ingredients, if you don't really use them with balance, you will mess it up, and that's the thing. Inclusion, the same thing, because inclusion is just like people feel a sense of belonging. People feel that they are heard, they are understood, and they are respected, and that's what we want. People to stay here, we have to give them a voice and to keep them going. Same thing back to you, my friend, Mr. Mayor. Diversity is being invited to a team, and inclusion is being invited to play in the team. What do you think of this statement? And the same thing for you, audience. You can leave a comment, and we will review that as well after.
Well, there's no doubt that you know, it's a good definition. It's a good example to give, certainly, because, and we see it actually going on in the community. Every day I see it at the office. I see it on the street. I see it in sports in particular. You know, we're seeing a lot more diversity. We're seeing Korean hockey players now. We're seeing people get involved in all aspects of life, and it's the same thing whether it's with the youth orchestra. You look at the dynamic today of the New Brunswick's Youth Orchestra, and look at the diversity on that team, and they're doing so well, and great job.
And that's the beauty of it, like when you see the whole team coming together, and each one have their own uniqueness, each one have their own talent, because that's the power of diversity, because you unleash the uniqueness in each one and make them thrive.
Exactly.
And it's well, you see that a lot in sport, like you see now, like a Korean and even African playing in a hockey team, and that's really amazing to see that. Now, the third question, how can we foster the cross-cultural communication to our young future leaders? Because the leaders now is the kids, the children. How can we foster the cross-cultural communication to our young future leaders?
Would you like me to start?
Anyone can jump through that. It's open.
Yeah, so children are the key for our community for the future. So it starts from your house, from your small how you raise your kids, and the school has a big support in that. So in education now, when you identify a community as a diverse community, it has to follow in the way we teach our kids. It has to be a cultural responsive teaching. So those students' voices should be heard. Their culture should be reflected. They don't want to feel excluded. I'll give you a very simple example. My son, when he came home, he told me, I don't want to take any more Lebanese food to the school because my friends told me, what is this? It's yucky. So he wants just like food that looks like Canadian food.
Okay.
So those small things, the education is really important. Building awareness is so important. So when you implement those in your teaching styles, when you're talking about food in class, you can bring up all those different kind of food from different cultures. Some people eat by spoon, some use their hands, so all those things, those stories shared in class will build awareness. And it will help them keep those stories with them until they grow up.
100%, 100%. I really love that building awareness, because sometimes you could have something unique and people might make fun of it. And you like dim that light, and it just like shut, because like everyone is like maybe doing something different. They are doing the same and you're doing something different. That might really break that, and I won't do that again anymore. So it's about education, it's about building awareness and teaching that at early age.
It's, you know, it's really keeping all the doors open. You know, that's what it's about. It's having an open door, having being active with people, and not be afraid to step up. You know, I'm basically a very shy person. I know it's hard. That's hard to. You might find that hard to believe, but I'm a very shy person. But at some point in time in my youth, I said, you know, I'm not going to go anywhere, you know, unless I open up to the outside world. And you know, it's the same for all youth, is having an openness to and challenge yourself all the time, and move and create and so on.
That's really a good point, Mr. Mayor. Keeping all the door open, and challenge yourself, because a lot of children, it's also like the parent role.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes if you want to talk about like the children, ask a question, why is that different? Why is the parent say, don't mention that, don't say anything about it, and the children grow with that attitude that maybe there's something wrong, I shouldn't talk about that. But if you share like a tough conversation about diversity, about inclusion, about racism, about discrimination, all that stuff from an early age, the children will grow up and will be open and leave that door is open, and challenge ourselves too.
Yeah, just normalize to hearing other stories and cultures. They're different. It doesn't mean they're wrong. Accepting others and including them in our community, that's important, and it goes both ways. So even the ones who are coming should understand why those react like that. This is their culture.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Accepting is the big thing, and asking question as well. Sometimes, like a lot of people, when you tell them, "Where are you from?" You just like, why you are asking me? Do I look different? But you would just have to be like hopeful. Like as when I used to drive taxi before, and people ask me in the cab business, like, "Where are you from?" And you can sense from the question, like, if really want to humiliate you or just curious, want to know where I'm from my mother. Why you are? So it is as you both said, it's about acceptance. It's about really education as well, because if I see somebody different than me back home in Morocco, like with a blonde or a different hairstyle and stuff, will ask, "Where are you from?" And that's normal. Like because
that's curiosity.
Curiosity, but it's just like with everything going on, people get like scared and they just like, "Don't ask me. You're just me." And yes, it's acceptance, education, and breaking the ice. Breaking the ice is the key. Like it's just at school, like even at school, you see that now different schools now start really to share, like do a little presentation about Morocco, about Lebanon, and you educate other children about the food, about the music, about different culture. Like back home in Morocco, when I used to live in Morocco, like for elderly people, you can't look them in the eye. If you look them in the eye, that disrespect. and you have like, I look at you and it's just like this. But when I come to Canada, it's the opposite. If you don't look at the people to eye, there's respect. I was like, what shall I do here? Like, so it's education and stuff. So it took me a long time, honestly, like how to look people in the eye, because I look at them and they think, I am disrespecting them.
Ask me about it.
You have that too? So, and some children too, like when they go to school, I have like one child once told me, he said like, I look at the teacher, but I can't look them in the eye, and the teacher think I'm disrespecting her, or I'm not. But that's part of that. It's just a sample example, like.
Yeah, there are a lot of examples, and now when you prepare teachers, culturally, it's really important for them to know the culture. Knowing those kids and their background is so important, to know why they're doing that or why they're saying that in that way. So this is a part, that's why I said school is so important, yeah.
Well, it takes a village to raise a child, eh? Like
well, we see, I've seen a lot of companies, in fact, and even in our own city hall in Dieppe, where we've had to educate our personnel, our staff, to the example that you gave. Why is that person just looking at the floor? When he's talking to me, did I say something wrong? But so unless people are trained or learn the why, they'll never, they'll think the wrong thing and create a wrong impression. I mean, I've said it I did it myself. I said to a young man, when you give, you go to an interview, you're going to talk to people, you reach out with your hand and you look them straight in the eye. I can't do that. So, it's but it's North America versus
exactly. Yeah. That look, it could give you the job. If you don't, you might not get it.
Yeah, they say, what's wrong with this person?
It's totally, but it take a leaders, a leader, not a manager or a boss, like a leader who can really sense, who can really get the best in others, and because that's what equity or inclusion is all about. Yep. You understand, you give the right information, and probably this from different culture, I can explain it to them, maybe even give extra explanation, maybe because of the culture and stuff like that. And the same thing for us immigrants when we come to Canada. We have to understand the culture. We have to understand the native culture. We have to understand what's all about and stuff like that, so that way we can all come together, because we are part of this community and we want the community to thrive together, and that's the key. And I think we have 2 minutes left before the break. We just throw this question and see if we can get from it, and maybe we'll answer the rest after the break. How are we doing in embodying the diversity in our community?
We're doing Atlantic Canada and Greater Moncton, Dieppe, Riverview. They're so kind people and welcoming, and have the ability to accept others. Educating them is something that you have to work on. You don't expect people to know about this culture or other culture or whatever. So here the education comes, and I've recently seen many organizations, and I did one a few weeks ago, cross-cultural training for the employees, where you present for them what is culture, how it differs from one culture to culture when we say they're different. This awareness, those biases that comes with them, are very important to educate our employees, our community, everyone about it. So why this person behaves like that, why you don't look in the eye. People don't know about that. So this is the act of empowering and creating this inclusive atmosphere and accepting others is starting to take place in Moncton. I can't say that it is fully there, so we're still putting the ingredients together. Our final cake is not out yet.
Okay, so it's cooking.
yeah, because
it's not quite ready for the oven yet.
Yeah, it's not quite ready for the oven yet.
I love that. It's So we have 50 seconds left. So we are putting all the ingredient. We are getting all the ingredient together to make that cake. It's not ready yet.
No.
Don't put the fire yet. Don't get the oven ready, but it's preparing. There is a lot of effort being done from both parts, and it's really amazing to see that happening because inclusion, equity, and diversity, they all combine together to make that cake come nice and tasty, and everyone will love that. Because when we have all different colors come together, we'll make a beautiful canvas. But when we have like one color or two color, you will see the canvas. It won't be the same. Eh? So we will be back after the break. See you soon. Don't get too excited. The cake won't be ready after the show. So see you soon. Hello. So we are back at Let's Dice Together, and we get to understand what dice mean from both Canadian and immigrant perspective. And we were asking the question, how are we doing in embodying the diversity in our community? And Dr. Shamia was sharing some great point, and I will repeat the question for the audience as well. How are we doing in embodying the diversity in our community? Mr. Demir, how are we doing, my friend? I think we're doing a good job. And need some more work.
Well, we need more work, but I think there's been great progress in the past 15 years. When we looked at the community and the reaction of the community to the Syrian refugees that came here, it was unbelievable. I mean, a lot of people got involved, a lot of committees and religious organizations of various faiths and individual people that welcome the Syrian community, and that was big. It was the beginning of a huge change. I mean, there was always a little bit of African students coming in to the university and the community colleges and whatnot, but such a large number in one shot coming into the community has been very powerful education for a lot of people, and sensitize people to what happens across that big ocean. Because a lot of people sometimes are not interested very much in global affairs, but once you start receiving more people in your community, then you become more sensitized to all global issues and so on. So,
100%.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, I had the privilege to live that moment because I was on the board of Magma, and it's amazing how all the community came together, how people were helping. It's amazing. Because every family was partnered with like a mentor family that helped them, and families were extremely helpful. We had the experience that sometimes it didn't work. We never had in Moncton that number that came to us, but they're well integrated, and hopefully we'll retain the higher percentage of people that come.
Yeah, that's a good example you both share. And by the way, Lamir, you are vice
the first vice president of Magma,
of Magma, yeah, and Magma is doing a lot of think about multiculturalism, about diversity, and
it's all about that.
All about that, and that's amazing to see, and to get also to help like all the immigrant and refugee when they arrive here, to get them to understand the Canadian culture.
The day-to-day life, the language is a big issue when immigrants arrive. So they're there to help settlement, work with the schools. They have to integrate them in the school system. So it's the community is doing well and helping as much as they can. They're doing well.
We're not denying, like the community is really doing like a lot of work, which is amazing to see, and I'm proud. That's like I used to live in Moncton, and they moved And I missed it, and I have to come back. It's almost like it feels like a magnet to bring you back, because you feel like the Maritimer. They just have that spirit of being friendly, being welcoming, being all that stuff, and it's amazing to see that. If you just go to a bigger city, you will feel like...
No, it's not the same. Yeah, I lived in big cities. It's not the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a friend who, when arrived here, he was in a big city, and he called me. The people are so nicer. Is that normal? Said, yeah, they're like that.
And that's, I think, what makes the spirit of the Maritimer very, very generous and very welcoming as well. And let's just bring us to the sixth question. Oh my God, we're already at sixth question. Time flying, eh? Effort to foster diversity without equitable practices and intentional inclusion will always fall short. What do you think of this statement? Effort to foster diversity without equitable, emphasizing on these equitable practices and intentional inclusion will always fall short. What's your...
Well, I'd have to agree with that. I think you have to, in some instances, you have to force the hand of the traditional structures that, whether it's organizational structures, but you have to challenge them. You know, we did it in Dieppe. We continue to do it in Dieppe. We had one program that we hope to be able, after the COVID situation goes away, be able to start up again, which was the open space in behind City Hall in the park, wide open park, where there was specific activities for families going on. Just people would just show up, you know, and you had like a giant chessboard and a giant different toys and places for people to meet and sit down, and, you know, swings and so on. And you saw a lot of interaction, you know. So we felt it was a very, very positive program. But then COVID hit, and you know, all these opportunities kind of went away, you know, and that's unfortunate, because we have to rebuild that. You know, we have to continue to push in that direction. You know, whether it's another example is hiring practices, for example. You know, that's something that nobody wants to talk about quotas, but, you know, we have to act. We have to act as a community, as an employer, and we have acted so far, and we will continue to act in that direction to reach the same kind of balance that I talked about at the beginning of French English. I think we also have to have a balance of new immigrants, or, you know, people of various cultures and ethnicity and so on.
That's a challenging topic, yeah.
100%. And yes, you brought that topic. Yes, you need a balance, big time. Like there is French, Canadian, English, native, immigrant from different ethnicity, and we all need that action. Right. And I wish to see that happening soon. The open space that will be in India, where there is like interaction, because people like that, have that interaction and have that conversation. Why not even have like some topic like that, diversity, where are you from, and stuff like that, and have that discussion, stuff like that.
This is how it starts.
That's how it starts, because discussion raise awareness, and awareness lead to change. And some people like it just like that fear. And that fear just stop people, blocking them. They said, oh, maybe first can do would be mad. But you will be surprised if you really ask that person and open up, and they will ask you, thank you for asking me that question, because
maybe they're waiting for you to ask.
Exactly, you are waiting, and they are waiting, and nobody wants to take the initiative. So just take that leap of faith and be the ripple effect, and that's what we want. And you had something you wanted to say about effort to foster diversity without, I thought, before I interrupt, sorry.
No, it's the same when I started, and I say those three definitions are really important to understand. So if you say I have a diverse environment, it just means numbers. The act of implementing an environment which is welcoming, integrate those, this is the inclusion. You build your policies, you hire people from those kinds, and equity means that you're applying this, and there's always misunderstanding between equality and equity, and it's so different. So implementing those in your environment is really important. Listen to the stories, accept people, and give everyone the help they need.
I love that. Give everyone the help they need. Because some people, like, we can't give the help to people who have different need or different, they need access. So for instance, people with some impaired or stuff like that, and you give them the same tools or the same resources, it's not going to work because it gives them according to their needs.
When I'm teaching, this is how I explain. Equality is giving people, if you have you have a view outside and you have three people with different lengths. Equality is giving them all three steps that are the same, but equity is giving everyone an access for them to see. So it might be 1 block, 2 block, 3 blocks. So giving them what they need to be able to see. To be integrated in your environment and help them get. So this is what is inclusion to equity. This is it.
Love it. Love it. And that just will bring us to, now we have 7 minutes. And we basically touch based on that, but we will just like, how does equity support diversity and inclusion? I know there are three. How equity support diversity and inclusion?
So that was my answer. They're all together. You can't.
You can't separate them.
You can't. To arrive to the equity part, you have to start by bringing your numbers, implementing this environment, putting your policies into place, respecting that, and then giving the support to arrive to the equity part.
And success brings success.
Right.
So when you're successful in some of these endeavors and programs, then people see it and people want to be part of it. They want to identify with it.
Win-win.
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 Exactly.
Success brings success. I love that. And that just will bring us to a lot of us tend to run away from this question. A lot of us many tend to hide behind the statement, I was raised this way. And he was raised that way. And they used to do it this way. And they saw people doing it this way for a long time. Isn't up to each one of us to change the narration and take responsibility and action, because action was shared a lot between you and Yvonne Lapierre. Action to change the unconscious bias. I'll just repeat that again. Many tend to hide behind this statement, I was raised this way, and he was raised that way, and they used to do it this way, and they saw people doing it this way for a long time. It's up to each one of us to change the narration and take responsibility and action to change the unconscious bias.
There's no doubt that unconscious bias is a wall that needs to be knocked down, and people that want to do it can do it, but they have to consciously work at doing that. It doesn't come naturally, because we have a tendency, as you said, people want to stay in their comfort zone. But getting out of your comfort zone and learning more about other people will bring that level of success.
Love that. Just get out of your comfort zone and embrace what is different than you. So unconscious bias is a big thing, and we need to break that big time. And you as well, audience, if you have any comment to leave about that, how can we break that unconscious bias? And
it comes from the inside also. Sometimes you need to have the willingness to do that.
That's a big thing,
yeah.
The willingness.
So if, I'll give you an example. If you're going to see a psychologist and you don't know why you're going there, you're identifying your problem is 50% of the cure. And then the 50% you will work on it. So when you come to a new community, knowing that this is how I used to do it doesn't work and how I should do it now, I can't impose what I used to do here, will make you reflect and maybe change some things. So it always starts from us, from inside, as I said, from inside our home, going to the school, going to the community. So we have to be aware of our own biases as well, to be able to get out from our comfort zone.
100%, 100%. The inside is the key, because if you don't recognize it, when you know the answer or you understand the question, it's half of the answers. So, so it's sometimes we have like some judgment or prejudgment to people, like just like automatically come to you without even question. That must be this and so, and it's normal, but at the same time it's not, because we grew up with that and we thought it's right. So we just like take a moment, as you mentioned, and take a deep breath and
reflect.
reflect.
Always reflect. Yeah.
Reflect what's going on, and if I feel that something's wrong, always ask. Did they did something to hurt your feeling? Did they did something that maybe is not? It just like it's all about asking and action. Action is the key. We have 3 minutes before, and that just will bring us to next question: safe living community environment. Well, we know like there is safe, like for work. Do we have any anti-discrimination, racism, and hate policy? Safe living community environment. That's if something happened. I know like what happened in Ontario, like for those Muslim, like they were just because of their dress, because of their maybe their color or something like that. So we want that to change. I know it's coming from hate. I know it's coming from maybe lack of education or judgment, or just like something that is there that we don't want it to happen again. We need action. What's the question? Safe living community environment. Do we have any anti-discrimination, racism, and hate policy in our community? That's so we can face that.
I think it's born from those feelings. I think are born from ignorance.
Ignorance.
I think my belief is that they're born from ignorance, and people have to again knock down those walls and move towards other people. It's the question of the old comfort zone again. You know, you have to go reach out to people. That's how we're gonna. Excuse me. That's how we're gonna change the discussion and knock down walls, because it's just plain simple ignorance that we. Some people are going to be able to change, and other people, it's going to be another generation, you know, and that's why I think the work that's being done in the schools, as you've talked about already, is so important, because we have to make sure that the next generation, the current generation, you know, make us move forward faster. We need economically. I mean, you can whether you're reading David Campbell's economic. I'm not making a pitch for any specific individual, but any of the regional thinkers in that will, and we know the numbers. You know, we need more immigrants because we need more jobs. We need. There's jobs that are just going on forever. Business is closing down because they can't find workers. But you know, it's so we need it. Has to happen.
The minister was here last week, and that was a major topic. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
100%, and as the point you shared, it's the pure ignorance and the pure sometimes fears.
It's lack of education.
Lack of education.
It's simply lack of education, and you can sometimes blame people. They don't know. They simply don't know. So you were raised in a community that is used to doing things like that, and suddenly you tell them you have to deal with this, and this ethnicity or culture or whatever. You have to educate them and teach them.
Education is the key, and we will be back after to discuss about education. So, see you in a bit. Thank you. So hello again. So we are dicing together here with Dr. Lamia, and the mayor of Dieppe, Yvonne Lapierre, and we were just talking about safe living community environment. Do we have any anti-discrimination, racism, and hate policy? And Mr. the mayor was sharing about ignorance. Pure ignorance sometimes can cause that, or fear. And Dr. Lamia as well was talking about education, and education is the key. And I agree 100%. Education is from both sides, because when we are educated, we see things from different perspectives. But when we let fear control or hate control, we see a bad result.
And acceptance.
Acceptance, that's a big thing, eh? Because if we don't accept who you are, and you accept me, I will think I'm right and you're wrong, and the same thing, you will think I'm wrong and you're right, and we will never come together, and that's not right. And next question, which will be about, I think we covered a little bit, but I will just see, when we are hiding under the table, when it comes to topics such as racism, discrimination, and hate, we are not bringing up what has happened, but we are hiding our head in the sand and expecting things to change. Conversation on that topic help remedy the one. So face it as it is and say it as it is. Like, yes, it is an act of racism. It is an act of whatever it is. What happened in sometimes a lot of things happen in the Western and stuff like that. And they say, no, there's something happened. But when you face it, that is an act of discrimination. This is an act of hate. This is an act of racism. We see, think it's need to be changed. We need to point to the core of the problem, and we need to fix it. We need education. We need that, yes, we are diverse, but we need this communication and discussion, because it raises awareness. What do you guys think of that? I know we highlight a little bit, but just...
I'll go. I can go first. You know, I think it's it goes back to what we've been saying. It's people meeting people and talking openly, and breaking down barriers, breaking down walls, informing yourself. Ask questions. You know, if you don't ask the question, you'll never get the answer. So you can't just sit in your corner and you know, and say, I don't like these people, these people, right? And that's the way it comes out. It's these people, you know. And again, I've had the privilege of working, in communities, Hindu communities, for example, in Brampton. I worked in a Brampton factory where the majority of the employees were Indians, and you know, they great working skills and whatnot. But you could see a separation between, you'd go into the lunchroom and you would see half of the workers on one side and the other half of the workers on the other side in the lunchroom, you know.
So there is
it was like, I just couldn't understand it, you know.
It's because they tend to stay in their comfort zone. That's it, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe there's
and the fear of, this is the fear of, what am I allowed to say? When should I stop saying that? And we go back to communication. So some people are really afraid to say what they think, because maybe saying this here in this context is wrong, or in this country is wrong. So
it's have to be politically correct. You have to be so many things, and it's, yes, there is respect, but there is sometimes stuff that have to be faced
and it comes from also the background, because if you look at the whole world, not all cultures are the same. Some cultures come from a really, the power there is the majority, so they are told what to do. They can't, it's not democratic. So if they move here, it's hard to change that to them. So it's about communication, it's about learning where they come from, and for them to learn how it works here too. So
adaptation, communication, acceptance,
knowledge and education.
It's all.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I know we have 9 minutes left, and that will just bring us to the next question that I really want to ask. How can we challenge stereotype and promote sensitivity and inclusion? How can we challenge stereotype and promote sensitivity and inclusion? Because it's all go back to early age, as we say.
No, it's again, it's about talking, it's about asking questions, it's about standing up and be counted. You know, it's it sounds simple, you know,
Yeah.
and it's easy to say,
Hard to do,
you
yeah.
know, but we all know people that have a hard time in doing that. So, but we need to continue to encourage people to reach out, you know, on both sides of the discussion, and this is how our communities are going to be stronger, better, grow faster, and offer more for everybody.
Offer more for everybody. Love
Yeah.
that.
And it starts, as I said, from you're willing to change, you're willing to accept others, you're willing to communicate and open those conversations. And you just have to know that everyone is different. It doesn't mean that you come from this country that everyone is the same. This is not a stereotype thing. Everyone thinks differently. I meet people, no, you don't look Lebanese, you don't act Lebanese. I said, yes. Is there any like structure for being Lebanese? Yeah, so it's just accepting, looking at the person as a person, communicating, accepting others, and just break those chains and get out of your comfort zone.
Break those chains and get off your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No,
when
not.
When I returned to my PhD, I came from Lebanon and France are the same. You have to call your professor as a doctor. So my supervisor was telling me, here it's not like that. It took me 3 months until I could call him by his name. It's hard. Like I've been raised in a way just to call him doctor, like my respect.
And if you don't call him doctor, he look at me like,
Oh, yeah, you
don't call me doctor? I study all this year.
Yeah, so it took me a few months till I got used to calling him by his name. So, this is a simple example. So imagine bigger stuff. Yeah. So
100% adaptation and always like willing to be flexible.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
adaptability is the most important thing.
And I would like to go to one point that just came to my mind. Like at school, sometimes like you see, because we were discussing diversity and stuff like that, and you see if someone is good at math, you should like encourage them like other children. I say, yes, you are good at math, and he is known for that. You are good at like, for instance, for English, or the other one is good for physics or science. So each one have their own power, their own strength at somewhere. But the problem, some of the school system, it's almost like creating that kind of competition, like always kind of like, even back home in Morocco or a different country.
But I don't see it here. We see it more in other cultures, this competition. Here I find it more relaxed, encouraging. So I see both systems as two extremities that completely different. Yeah.
But just like with that, like just like diversity, when you have that strength, I encourage you for it. I say, okay, Lamia, you're really good at communication. Mr. Yvonne, you are really good at relationship and stuff like that.
This is what is pedagogy. You have to encourage and look at what they are strong at and build on that.
100%, and that's what we want. Even in the community, you have strength. You want to be included. Because you're qualified for that. It's not because your color.
Look
it's not
at
because
what
of
I'm
your
bringing
religion.
to this community and use it. Don't judge that this person don't have those credentials or experiences here, but this person might be enriching your experiences with something new from outside.
100%, 100%. Anything to add, my friend Yvonne Pierre? I know we have 5 minutes, and we will just discuss that question, and we'll.
No, I think it's you know, we've covered a lot of territory on that topic, and but it's just basic human nature to fear the unknown, right? It's human nature, but it's something that we need to continue to fight and go reach out. Just reach out. You know, the most fulfilling event concerning immigrants that I participated in was with a group of a Syrian family that we're friends with, who just got their Canadian citizenship and invited us to attend in their home, because with COVID, it's all being done by virtually. So I felt really gratifying for me to, and honored that they took the time to invite me and my wife to go attend with them and celebrate with them their getting their Canadian nationality. So it was a great moment, and but that's the kind of thing that the way we need to look at those success stories. This particular gentleman came here, they came here with nothing. They have a home, 3 kids in the French school system that will be super kids because they'll know 3 languages, right? We all know that French, you learn, English you catch, It's just,
exactly. And third language is a
and
bonus.
the third language is the home language often enough, right? So no, it's great. It's great to reach out to people and help where you can. This is how our community is going to grow. And again, it has to continue. And thank you for the work that you're doing in doing that, and yourself with and making people aware, and you for your work with Magma, all these years that you've been there. So
yeah, it's all about awareness. Yeah, I loved one. My son told me a story that happened in their class, and the teacher had a very smart answer. So he's in a French school. So the boy, one of the immigrants, was talking with an accent, and his friend told him, "Why do you speak like that?" And the teacher jumped up and said, he speaks 3 languages.
Yeah, without pointing already. Yeah, that's very smart from the teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those story, as you mentioned, that those story of hope, those story of success, resilience. Those people, as you said, they come with nothing, and they are doing their best to succeed and to be a very successful part of our community.
Yeah.
Those are like resiliency, and that's what we want. We just want people to understand that diversity. Yes, it's a big thing. Yes, we want different color. We want different people from different country, but we want all to come together.
Yeah, and it's important to highlight those success stories to show that, it's working. Bringing those immigrants here is doing something to our community.
And kudos to you for attending and being there, because that means a lot to them for that moment. Because to be a citizen and hold that and be invited, that's really appreciate that. And now we have 1 minute on the fly. How can hate? What's hate? Hate, just in one word. We want to break that wall and stuff.
Hate is a chain.
Chain. Prejudice.
Prejudice, it's ignorance. It's ignorance. I find, people are stuck in their little part, little box, little part of their block and chain. They're caught up in their own little thing and don't look to the future and look at others, because newcomers represent the future of our community, without a doubt.
Lamia, racism. I know. 1 minute.
It's hate, misunderstanding.
Last one. Discrimination.
We have to do away with it. We have to do away with it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Wonderful guest for this amazing conversation, meaningful conversation, and some of the question that was tough, but it's not really tough when we are talking about it, because we want to raise awareness and we want the change to start just through conversation.
Thank you for your program. It's really effective and builds awareness.
Thank you very much, Lamia.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. And also your audience, share your thoughts, share your comment, and be brave. Be that ripple effect you want to see in the world, just by asking someone that you see in the community that's different than you, asking them what they like, what they don't like, because you will be surprised all the question or the answer that will be so open, full of love and full of happiness. See you next time, guys, and thank you very much.